Indiana Jones, Indiana It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we get down and penitent 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Gerald Christopher St. Joseph of Cupertino, who is a patron of test takers. I think that's appropriate for this minute, right?
Well, didn't you already have a Cupertino?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
No.
Does he work at Apple?
Now listen. He was known to be unclever, but could levitate. So look, there's hope for you yet, Tommy.
Oh, okay. Wait.
I just love that we have a saint out there who's known to be unclever.
Oh, I thought you meant I was going to get to levitate. Oh,
Well,
I didn't know you thought I was
yeah,
unclever,
no.
Jerry.
But if you could choose that, like if you were dumb but could levitate, would you do that?
Yeah, I probably would. Yeah.
Pete, yeah, you'd be too OCD.
What if someone sees?
I'm doing it crooked. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there's birds up here.
It's filthy.
Porter.
Thank you. And today we're joined by the man who's famous for knowing absolutely everybody who's anybody, which might explain why he's never met us before. Welcome to the show, Ken Plume.
Well, now I've ticked that box. Hi.
Thanks for
to
coming
be
on the
here.
show today. Yeah.
Yeah, do we get to tick our We're Somebody's box?
Yeah.
We'll make shirts or
Ah,
something.
well, there it is.
Yeah.
I'm a somebody.
It's like that Twitter check mark.
It's a parenthetical somebody, though.
Comes with an some bleeped out words in front of somebody, I'm guessing, too.
Yeah, possibly.
Now I'm just imagining this whole levitation thing and how easy it would be to just move people out of the way.
But you got to remember, you're unclever.
Yeah, that wouldn't even occur to you.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
I'm not choosing to be the unclever one. I'm just saying I could move the unclever one out of the way.
Oh.
Listen, you can't a la carte the saints.
Yeah.
You get what you get.
I don't know. There was a saint dispensary. Is that posted?
Yeah. Look, if you're a patron of candle makers, there's no bitching. That's what you do.
Oh, jeez.
Candles. At least I can float.
I perform miracles for this.
Yeah, exactly. At least I can float.
Shut up, stupid.
Yeah, they're never going to get you on your you're a witch. You're a witch business. Actually, or they do, right? The witches, if you floated, you were a witch.
If you
right?
floated, you're a witch, and then they
Yeah.
just chopped your head off or something.
Yeah, or they burn you or
Burn
something.
you,
Yeah.
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 God.
Which or
There's no
duck?
winning.
But how do they burn you if you're floating? That means you're wet.
No,
Right,
they,
How
dry
are they
off.
going to
Change your
ignite
clothes
you
or
if you're
something.
wet?
Yeah.
they wait. People dry off eventually.
Yeah, they're like, we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, he's pretty sodden.
Would you also not throw the witch into like a strong current? Because
Right.
then they've escaped.
Yeah.
See ya,
Yeah.
suckers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened? So, I mean, but what, of course.
It's all
the-
it's all like incident or occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge if you're a witch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is.
Like you think
Yeah.
you've escaped, and then the next thing you realize you're like, chunk.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
Does it
point.
mean that you
Spoilers
could
But
also
the
for a
crazy thing
100-year-old
is, then
story.
we all say so the innocent people drop like a stone.
Yeah, and drown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
So really,
Yeah.
there's no winning this
No.
trial.
No.
No, well, but you know who wins? Actually, the person who wins is the person who gets your real estate, which is what half of the Salem witch trial business was about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Probably.
I don't
That
know.
sounds
I
about
think,
right.
yeah, it was like they're
Know the
trying
exact
to get
percentages,
some of the
but-
real estate.
That sounds like human
Yeah, I don't know
history.
exactly.
Easily
Thank you.
2/3. All about real estate.
Well, speaking of exact percentages, today we're going to be talking about minute 106, which is exactly 106 minutes into the movie.
Whoa.
And minute 106 begins with Indy muttering about penitent men and ends with Indy staring at a bunch of Scrabble tiles.
I've mentioned this before and I've alluded to it, but right here is like the evidence. The cobwebs in this movie are not good. They're bad. I'm sorry to be taking up time with the podcast to just complain about this tiny little detail, but they're really crummy, and it
So you're
bothers
thinking
me
this
because
is like Party City cobwebs?
exactly Party City cobwebs. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you buy them in a bag and you kind of string them around, and then it rains on Halloween night and you can't get them off, and it's gross. And I mean, we had such beautiful webs in Raiders of the Lost Ark at the very beginning with Indy and Satipo, and they seemed organic and real and sticky and weird. And these are just kind of like, like it's like your third grade teacher's Halloween party or something. You're like, all right.
To me, they look a lot like it's like the pillow stuffing at Michael's.
They do.
Yeah, they just kind of strung that out a little bit.
And then Indy
it's-
will only wipe half of them off of his face later, and that bugs me too. It's like, why do you keep half of that pillow stuff on your face?
Yeah.
Well,
It
and
sucks
you're
that I
comparing
know
it.
that.
I mean, you look at the cobwebs that were in Raiders of the Lost Ark in the beginning temple sequence, and those seemed a lot more realistic, but also not. They seemed a lot more that they were liable to be there, because otherwise, this temple, the Knight's been doing a lot of cleaning. That whole front chamber is very well kept. Why is just this one corridor not kept up?
I have a theory about that.
Oh,
I think this,
You often
'cause
do.
remember we were thinking it in Raiders, it was some kind of light sensitive organism that set off the traps. And I think maybe the spider comes in and respins the web every time, like somebody sets it off, and that's why it kind of resets everything.
oh.
Because otherwise,
the
it seems like this must just go off like it's like 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Well, so hang on. The like the breath of God is kind of the wind up, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the cue.
right.
So I'm wondering. So what happens if you reach that trip point, or the point of no return, or the point of possible return, but you trip the breath of God, and then you see it like starting to blow towards you, and you go, wait, I'm never doing it, and you run backwards.
That's a really good question.
Well, this
That could be
plays
fine.
into my problem with this trap, is that so you have Donovan and Elsa's team have arrived. There's easily, what would you say, about at least 10 members of their support staff, soldiers and the soldiers that the Sultan sent with them.
Well, there were 13, but
That's what I'm about to. So you have them all waiting there. You have this series of traps. You have reasonably intelligent people, one would suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Their plan to get through here is to send someone one at a time, not monitor what's happening up there, wait until a head rolls back and go, okay, next one, let's see if you can do it.
How'd that happen?
No one going, let's go two at a time and see what's going on. Maybe one step back from where we hear the heads drop.
It also seems like it's totally visible by people just standing out there.
Yeah.
Like, like we said last minute, that it seems like you can see the groove that one of the blades goes through while Indy's standing there, and everyone can still see him and stuff. So
Right.
you'd think that you'd see these giant blades coming by.
It also
Right.
seems to move a lot slower when Indy does his little thought
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
It's set to normal. He's not as worried about his score.
So there's there's a huge question here, and I know we're all thinking about it. It's the kneeling protects you against the top blade, right? Like
Right.
the penitent,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's so if you're penitent, you kneel. It protects against the top blade.
Would it
But-
protect Tom Taylor from the top blade?
Oh, that's a really good
No,
question.
but Tom Taylor, but he never prays.
Nor do I tuck and
You never-
roll or do the triple Indy or whatever he does there.
But if
I
you're
remember that
of
from
a
church.
taller stature, it seems like this is a trap for you.
Yeah, that's
That is
heightest.
true.
Maybe
But then-
praying
so,
involves
okay.
gymnastics of faith.
Well, then we see this bottom blade,
Yeah.
which is a total variable.
Right.
And now I just read a cracked article.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Did you see that, Pete?
Yeah, that's.
I should have known it. All right, go ahead.
No, take it.
Well, the cracked article says that it was an Easter egg in this movie, and a very wise thing. At first, people go, "What about the bottom blade?" But they actually addressed it, and they said, this type of contraption or trap only allows true Christians through because they like a Christian would kneel like sort of in the shape of an L. But this was supposedly built during the time of the Crusades, and so the Christians are warring with the Muslims, and a penitent Muslim would actually kneel a different way.
They would be prostrate himself on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Putting his head to the ground.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so the Cracked article says, well, this would obviously prevent that, what would be, according to a Christian, the infidel from, encroaching upon the Holy Grail or breaking through the first booby trap here.
So this is a booby trap with an asterisk. To say only the penitent Christian
Right.
Yes.
may pass.
Which we kind of talked about a little bit, like how much does Indy have to believe? Like, what do you have to believe in terms of the Holy Grail? And Donovan, asks him, now it's time. We're going to really see what you believe. And even, we talked about this. I don't know what religious affiliation I guess the Sultan, His Majesty, the Sultan of Hatay is. But he doesn't seem to be too worried and concerned about this Holy Grail lore business. He's happy to get the Rolls Royce instead of the Holy Grail.
I think he's going to be worshiping that Rolls.
Well, they certainly paint it that way.
But the booby traps, and we see it here, they're not actually tests of faith. They're like tests of, religious knowledge or lore or something. Like you can put together the hint that kneeling is how you are penitent before God, and that'll keep you from getting your head chopped off.
But if you're kneeling, like if you're really being penitent and you're kneeling and you have your head bowed, you're also going to get your misunderstanding chopped off.
Oh yeah, or at least your ankles or something. Yeah. It's not good.
So
you do have to do a trick.
Yeah. Is it fair to say that Indy kind of cheats this booby trap a little bit because he goes kneel? And then he doesn't kneel. He somersaults.
Yeah.
And what he was supposed to kneel immediately, and the top blade goes across and doesn't hit him. And then the bottom blade, I guess you're not supposed to be moving.
Well, yeah. Well,
but
he
somersaults past it. Yeah.
He basically freaked out because of the top blade.
Yes.
I'm assuming this is the long-standing Indy not being quite on his game. In a lot of these things. And this is him, because, all you had to do was kneel on your knees and remain upright. You would have missed the top blade and the one in front of you if you had just stayed still.
Yes. But so what's fascinating about this is he doesn't really have this true believer business down. He kind of squeaked through that first one.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's becomes more and more of a believer as this goes on.
Well, he's clearly not penitent.
Yeah,
he's kind of faking it enough.
I think these are designed though for you to fake it. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like there's nothing. It's all mechanical and it's all. It's like a test. It's like a test of what you can figure out from the goofy clues in the diary and stuff.
Right.
Now, we've been kicking this around. We'll ask you here, Ken. Do you feel that these booby traps are completely human designed, or is there a supernatural component to them? The actual booby traps.
No, these are far too jerky in their setups. there's clearly a lot of tinkering. And, wouldn't this be cool?
Yeah. They'll chop their heads off if they're Muslim.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, I mean, and you see some of the clockwork, as it were, of the mechanism.
Yeah.
When he stops it, you see the rickety gear work that they've got going on this thing, which again needs some maintenance. What kind of work is this knight that you're eventually going to see in this film doing in his off time over the course of 1,000 years to keep this thing in tip-top shape?
Well, I've got a theory about that too. Is it possible that the knight is kind of like that Japanese soldier in the Philippines who thought World War II was still going on until like 30 years after it ended? And is like, does the knight still think that the Crusades are going on? And maybe he built these traps like 6 months ago. Like it took him 1,000 years to come up with all this, and they're finally ready.
He asks Indiana about his garb.
Right.
Yeah.
So, for him, I'm assuming he thinks that time... Is he not marking time anywhere? Are there not little notches that he's put somewhere? Like,
That would have been a good idea.
500 years, gonna make myself a cake? No, I get whatever the medieval equivalent of a cake is.
Well, the other thing, though, if you're inside a cave with no sunlight, how would you ever know if it's been a year or a day or...
That chamber is...
Well, you'd have to...
His chamber isn't, but the outer chamber is very well lit.
Yeah, a lot of the place is very well lit.
There's a lot of ambient light coming in this place.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Now, you know what's crazy? Indy whips his whip around the blades.
Does he?
Yeah, I did not catch this at first, but he actually he winds his whip around the blades, and I think it might be so it doesn't reset.
Oh yeah, he stops it
No,
like that.
No, it's a rope.
That's a rope. That's not his.
Yeah.
It's not his whip. Okay,
Yeah.
It's a rope. Where do you get the rope?
I don't know, and why? Yeah,
It was on the wall. It's like a thing that was made to stop it.
It's
and
a
he sees
really
it
That's
there.
what's weird.
spider web.
Yeah, that's so
Like
fake.
his whip, I can get a rope.
No, I think.
But it seems like that's Pete. Yeah, I think you're right. That it looks like it's there to stop it.
right.
like
It's
it's
how
a
the
mechanism.
knight stops it. Like if he's gonna, go out for some air or something.
I guess so.
Which really convenient.
Yeah.
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 Well, again, the knight's got to do some upkeep. He's got to do some sweeping every once in
Yeah.
a while out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's his little stop rope.
Yeah.
Well, I have
past
a
the
question
blades.
about if he. I wonder if he does ever leave that cave. I have a question about that.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, there's nothing preventing him. Just the Grail can't pass the seal. So it's, I guess,
but-
his faith or a small imagination. Keep.
yeah.
Yeah. A lack of
Maybe
boredom.
he has a very large imagination, and that's why he never needs to go outside. He's totally fine with the
Yeah.
cave. It's like one of those
Little mind
evolutionary
stories.
things. Yeah, the longer he's in the cave, the wider his imagination
You
grows.
know how many times he's rearranged those grails?
Yeah.
Or he's
wonder
the
if
he's the time enough at last guy, but he never had to wear glasses.
Oh my God!
Oh my
Yeah.
God! Wow.
Finally get to
What
read
if
the
he's just,
entire
like-
Bible.
Maybe he's way into Grail collecting, and he's the time enough at last guy.
Yeah.
Where does he
Just
get
to
the
talk to
grail?
his
Like, does he
grails.
like travel the world in his off time and grabs a grail here and a grail there?
I don't even remember that. I have to look at
Yeah.
it.
Do you think?
we gotta-
do you think
yeah.
he knows that there are people in the temple right now?
I
Like, do
don't
you think
know.
he observes all this, or do you think he's not going to know anybody's here until they show up in his little cave?
I mean, it looks
Might be
like he was
asleep.
caught napping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
yeah.
So-
Dozing.
So I don't know
I
how
think-
aware he was.
Well, it's weird. At the end of this minute, we see the tiles. Not to jump ahead, but we see the tiles with like the letters and everything, and they're in perfect condition. Like no one has ever walked across these. it seems
I
like.
disagree.
Oh,
I think the J looks like it's got fresh caulk around it.
so
So I think somebody's walked on that recently.
you think that knight does come out and like reset stuff? And
No,
things?
I think someone's been in here trying to get through recently, and they
I
fell
can't wait
through.
to talk about those tiles. So
Okay.
let's not get
Yeah,
started on the
we
tiles.
can
Yeah.
save that for tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, hey, it's hilarious. The one thing I wonder about this, like, did the booby trap hints get leaked? How is this info out there? And like, why are only the clues available?
Mhm.
Except for this one, I guess, potentially in a future minute, Henry has a pretty good depiction. That there's a painting that he got at the garage sale of that's pretty accurate to what
Mhm.
this,
Yeah.
what the third
Yeah.
trap is. But what I don't understand is, like, why in front of each clue, why isn't there one of those little placards that gives you the clue? You know,
Oh, like
just
at,
like in miniature golf.
Yeah, like Pirates Cove. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because
Or
otherwise,
isn't
isn't that the purpose of the knight? Has he forsaken his duty? Is he supposed to be staying there? Oh, by the way, here's the next test for you.
Well, you were clever enough to defeat my first booby trap.
You found the rope.
But then, like, does Donovan even know how many traps there are? See,
Donovan
this is the
seems
He
thing
might
that-
not know there are
very,
any
like-
traps.
He doesn't seem like he's thought out how to proceed at all. Because that goes back to my just sending one person at a time up
Yeah.
there. You have
Yeah.
a whole team. Sort out, swarm. Look,
Right.
poke around the edges of this
I think
thing. and see
I think
what's
Donovan
going on.
only knows that he's sending guys in there and their heads are coming off. Because I think Henry made it sound like way earlier that like he's the only one who knows about the booby traps. Like he read the book that tells you about the booby traps and tells you about like the clues and stuff. And you know Donovan wouldn't know that.
Yeah,
seems
no,
like.
that's huge. Like, so these regular guys who are walking through first, or anyone who's come through and they didn't shop at that garage sale that Henry did, they're not going to know even the bit about the penitent man.
Right. That's why it's a good booby trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so how did the clues get leaked at all?
It was the Chronicles of
It's-
Saint. What's his name?
Oh,
Anselm. Yeah.
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 But how did the Brotherhood of the Cruciform Sword know these things? Have they been inside here?
Did they?
Well, I'm assuming they knew all the clues that led to this place
Wait, they did? How do we know that?
because they knew that what was down there in the catacombs in Venice.
I thought we said they didn't know. I thought they were just like, well, we were at least theorizing, like they were just literally following Indy. Like, oh my gosh, he got through the thing. Oh, he found that's what the X is for? Oh my gosh, he got into the floor of the library. That must lead to something neat. And they just like stopped him because he was getting close.
But how would they know if he's getting close if they don't know
Well,
what
I mean,
it is?
if
Like,
they're a secret society that is protecting the location of the Grail, then I would presume that they're not going to tip their hand in any obvious way.
yeah.
More like, oh, they got this far, now we're going to have to step up our aversion game to, you know, because all along the way, they seem to be in the place they need to be to monitor how close they're getting to the actual Grail location.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and
what was
have
with their
plans to be there.
But what was with their ineffectual attack where they all died? Like they didn't kill any Nazis. They didn't
Nah.
do anything
Yeah.
except die.
Yeah.
Well, I
They
mean,
didn't know about machine guns.
they obviously did not have much of a budget. So
They spent it all on the fezzes.
I don't know
Yeah.
if it was poor investment. They had some nice
Yeah.
suits. Clearly, went, hey,
Well,
no
wait a
one's
minute,
going to
so-
find this Grail. Let's go out and get some suits.
We can at least look good while we're sitting around doing nothing.
I got my eye on a fez.
But see, how do we know
Hello.
that this isn't a regular, like someone comes through here at least once a month? Like somebody gets this far every month and they got to.
So maybe they're also doing cleanup work and maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a little weird that in like an Indiana Jones fashion, there's not like just a pile of skeletons at the opening of this thing.
Well, that's why I
Like,
think
no
someone
heads.
must come in and clean them out.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's a good point.
Well, you know, look, I get that the Chronicles of St. Anselm isn't on the New York Times bestseller list, but if it were a real thing, which it's not, I would assume that enough people would have read it. Maybe like Grail people from around the world or medieval scholars around the world. So I'm just imagining now the Chronicles of St. Anselm, like at the back, there's one of those Mad magazine fold-ins. It's just like, and that's what Henry got these clues from.
I
That's
mean,
what it
the
seems like.
information's scattered. This is obviously
Yeah.
a pre-information age. It's not like he's on the Grail Usenet sharing notes with other Grail hunters. Oh, guess what I found? I found something at a yard sale. Hold on, uploading a photo.
Got beheaded again.
What do you think this is? Also, Henry's a liar. His claim that, the reason he doesn't remember anything is, he wrote it down in the book so he wouldn't have to remember it. he seems to remember all the booby trap
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
the whole way through.
Yeah.
Although he does, he's got a Zeppelin ride to reacquaint himself with those things.
That's true. Yeah.
And he's like showing them to Indy there and everything.
yeah, maybe he learned his lesson.
Yeah, I got to read this thing.
I'm a
I
good
got to commit
writer.
some of this to memory.
Yeah. I've got something for you here, Jer. When Indy gets past these gears, or when he stops these gears and he stops the blades, he yells, "I'm true."
Which he probably is.
Yeah. I want him to be like, I'm through. I've had it. I almost just got
Yeah.
killed. I'm staying in here.
But he's still got
Forget
that
you
cold.
guys.
He's still either that or
I'm
it's
through.
his subconscious dreaming self trying to assert
Yeah.
itself. I'm true. I'm truly here.
Well, so what's weird is and then Donovan says we're through.
Yeah.
But what's kind of strange is so Donovan thinks that the Grail is just right there, like 5 feet in front of Indy.
Or maybe he just thinks they're through that trap.
Yeah. Indy's gotten past the thing that's cutting off all the guys' heads. That's kind of all
Yeah.
he knows, I think.
But at this
And
point,
Elsa
Indy
looks
knows how
terrified.
it works. He knows how the mechanism works. Why is he
Yeah.
leaving the path open behind him
That
for
is a little
anyone
weird.
to follow?
Well, I was thinking so he can get back out.
But he's
But
on the
he's
side
on
with the
that-
mechanism, so
Yeah,
he can
That's
just
stop
true.
at any time.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Donovan's obviously
Well-
too stupid to figure out himself.
Yeah.
Right.
I
that's a good
assume
point.
he's gonna. I mean, I assume he's thinking he has to run in, snatch the Grail, and run back out, and give it to his dad. But what's fascinating is that if that were to happen, and Indy comes scrambling out holding the Grail, would Donovan just snatch it from his from his hands?
Yeah, probably.
Or would
And
you
then
just
not
shoot him?
because would he shoot exactly? And then now, because if he does actually save his dad's life, now you have an immortal Henry Sr.
Can we agree that rather consistently through all of these films that Indy is a poor planner?
Oh, sure. He makes it up as he goes.
And
Yeah.
he's, in many ways, he's not very good, and circumstance is what gets them through most of these things.
It's been said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's evidence to support that.
I mean, there's a lot of follow me moves he does in these booby traps that make no sense.
Well,
Right.
like
And
right
he's-
at the end here, there's this giant mass of cobwebs in front of him, and he just like rips it all apart. Like that could very easily be the next trap, and he just walks up to those cobwebs and just
Right.
like flings them
Yeah.
aside.
Oh, my hand's dissolving. Oh, well. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, there's a bit of petulance to Indy when he's
Yeah.
barreling his way through things.
Yeah.
Petulant
Oh,
man.
sure.
Petulant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, maybe
So-
maybe it was the petulant man. The petulant man.
Maybe that's why he does the somersault.
Yeah.
I don't got time to sit still and kneel.
The petulant man has had it with this. I'm through. So they cut to Henry out there, and Sala's like trying to reassure him. He's like, "Hey, you made it. He made it through. He's okay." And Henry's just shaking his head. No, is that just because he's just worried in general because he knows that there are 2 more tests, or what is that? Is he just
Yeah,
like?
I think it's
no
like no,
faith
he's
in
not.
his
He's
son.
not done yet.
Yeah.
Oh, that idiot.
Just you wait, Sala.
Took
Yeah,
the dog's
we should-
name.
I feel, we
Just
should
like
have
Cub
sent.
Scouts.
We should have sent in the Marx Brothers.
Harpo would have made it.
You know what? I know I'm harpoing on this business here, but that was terrible. I'm sorry.
Nicely done.
I don't like that Indy takes the diary and only Indy's dad and Indy know about the traps in the diary. There's no explanation to Donovan or anybody else or anything. And so it's like, okay, so that's its own thing, just a sort of their secret where they're in communication, even though they're separated here.
Mm-hmm.
And just Donovan has no clue what's going on or what Indy's doing at all.
Because that's Indy's bargaining chip. Like, as long as he holds all the cards as far as the knowledge, Donovan's not going to kill him.
Yeah, but then he's also leaving the way open as he goes.
Yeah, right.
But I mean,
But why-
unless
I
he
mean,
thinks
why
he'll get to the
doesn't-
Grail first and he can take a quick sip
Why
and then
doesn't
Donovan can't do anything to him.
Why doesn't Donovan just ask him what Fogel asked him? He's not wearing gloves.
Yeah. He has to borrow
Yeah, why
Elsa's
didn't he
gloves
just
to
say,
slap him.
"Look, what's in the diary? What is it that we're missing here?"
Yeah, he doesn't even he still doesn't know about what's going on in here.
No,
He's it is a little weird.
and he doesn't shout like, "Where are you now? What do
Why are
you
you holding
see?"
that diary? Yeah,
Yeah.
why
I
don't you just take it as
he
diary
knows
to go
this
in
stuff's
there?
in the diary. Like I don't think it's because he was reading the diary in that chair in the castle. Like he may
seemed
not
to
have.
only
He may
be
not have.
he like.
I mean,
Okay.
he may not have digested the entire thing, but I think he knows that there's. He would have seen the pictures, and he would have seen like, oh, this might be some kind of a trap, or this might be. I'm sure he's put 2 and 2 together. He doesn't seem like a stupid guy.
But if that's true, then he wouldn't have been so dismissive of it back in the castle.
Yeah, as soon as he finds out the map isn't in it,
Well, right,
he's like,
but then
oh, I want to burn this.
Then once he gets here and he realizes that there are traps, he's probably like, oh,
Yeah, maybe.
Donovan isn't very bright either. Can we?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if a better plan, one would think would, and might even have raised some of the tension throughout this because of the ambiguity of the relationship they've shown, is if Donovan had sent Elsa through the traps with him, so she's observing how to solve the traps.
right.
Mm.
So he has someone in there, because Donovan, I would presume, as we've already seen, sending in one person at a time, wouldn't volunteer himself for fear that Indy would just throw him into a trap, and or he'd get killed by accident, and that'd be the end. He should have, then it might have been a better motivation or an increased motivation for Elsa's turn later
Right.
to
that's
have, the fact that he's essentially potentially sacrificing her, going, you go with him,
Yeah.
when
That'd be
heads have been
interesting.
rolling out.
Yeah.
Although
Right. Yeah,
she may have made, it may have made her character a little too sympathetic if we'd had them working together through the traps, like just from a character standpoint.
It would have been
We might
interesting.
need
Yeah,
that
it would have
in a
been
weird
interesting
way.
to see a little bit of a throwback to the, the catacombs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now with
here we are
with the
together
dynamic
again.
shifted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the
No,
dynamic shifted, like exactly a lot more at stake.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of interesting.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of this
Yeah.
film that feels first drafty,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Amen to that.
and
Not to get
You
too
know-
religious.
it sort of feels like, and in many ways was intended to be a retread of Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it feels like a Xerox of Raiders.
Yeah, it's a little fuzzy.
The
when it
fidelity
didn't come
isn't
through.
there.
Yeah. Right. But again, we
Wait.
keep saying this. If you just watch it as a movie, this stuff kind of breezes by and you're like, oh, this is fun. This is good. I'm enjoying this. But then if you sit here into the wee hours, picking apart every minute one at a time, it starts to kind of not make a
That's
ton
when
of
you
sense.
really pay attention to Marcus.
Yeah, that's when you're forced to just stick your face right into his, deal with it.
And you go, is he ever the same from scene to scene?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, which Calliope music is
know,
playing this time?
If you imagine, it's got to feel really strange to be Donovan right now, because he's he's sitting there in this room, and he's paid for everything. He's gotten everybody there. He's dressed in a really nice motoring outfit. He has a gun, but he has all these other guys around him that are sort of his army-ish, and they have rifles. But he's got like a great, compatriot archaeologist next to him, but he's not an archaeologist. And then he sends Indy in, and they have this secret between them, this diary business that you haven't really read, and you don't entirely know what's going on. And you just shot Henry, and you're like, I think that was a really good idea. I guess I'm just going to sit here and wait.
Yeah.
And see,
Well-
did you get, and Indy barks back, he's like, I got through, and you're like, all right, cool.
But
I got-
Donovan's the guy, he's got men working in copper mines, and he's got
Yeah,
men
he's not gonna get
doing
his hands
things.
dirty.
Yeah.
Sure,
He's
but
the
he
boss.
really, really wants this thing, but in a way right here, it's kind of hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's the cautious. That's how to get it. Like if he
Yeah.
rushes in, he's going to end up with his head rolling back.
Right.
Like I think he's willing to sacrifice some other people to get what he wants, not himself.
Mm-hmm.
But he seems a little bit out of the loop. I guess that's what I'm saying. He's, pulling all the strings, and yet he's kind of out of the loop
I'm not
with
sure
this
I'm
whole
not sure I agree
booby
with
trap
that.
stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, Indy right now is his agent, figuring this stuff out for him.
Well, I never got a sense of investment or urgency from Donovan the same way I got in Belloc.
Oh,
in
yeah.
Raiders,
Yeah.
where
Right.
this is a thing. Belloc, this is this moment. This is the thing he's been building towards. This is his entire career, the culmination. And he's excited. Donovan just
Yeah.
seems sort of like, at one point you can imagine him kicking back with a newspaper going, "You get through yet?"
That's kind of my point.
Yeah, holding out his empty cocktail glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although he's got
brandy?
the rest of eternity
When you have a minute.
to enjoy it, what's the hurry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
Well,
as
we were
an audience member, we're like, well, if you're not excited about it, why?
Well, so do you think, Ken, does this read to you like Donovan's going to screw over the Nazis? Like he's somehow going to double cross them once he
I
gets
don't
his hands
think he
on the
needs
Grail?
to. Because if the whole idea is you drink from the Grail and you get immortality, if he had chosen correctly at the end, he had that. That's all he cared about. Then at that point, what is the Grail to him if he's already attained what he wanted?
Right.
As soon as he took the sip from the Grail, if it had been authentic, boom, mission accomplished. Send it
And
back
he-
to Hitler, whatever.
Although I
Yeah,
guess
you're
the idea
put-
is that we're supposed to see him, I guess, as like he's almost as big of a collector and hunter of rare antiquities as Indy is, or
There's
as
also-
Belloc was or something.
There's also
Yeah.
no
Like he actually wants the
witnesses.
cup.
Because
Yeah.
if the idea behind what's been presented as the Nazi agenda in these films is just acquiring, and not any real belief, there's sort of like it might be
Right.
real.
The history
These
books say
things
it
might
is.
have
Yeah.
power, whatever. All he had to do was then take a sip. If it was real, he has immortality, and then send back a false Grail because there's no other witnesses besides Elsa and Indy in that room
Yeah.
and the knight.
Yeah.
So none of the soldiers, or he could just say it was a failed mission. He bankrolled it,
right.
and he's
Well, he could have killed Hitler that way.
Yeah, and
He could
and
have sent Hitler a fake Grail, and then Hitler thinks he's immortal, and he shoots himself in the head.
and
or
he's a
something.
U.S. citizen. He can just head right back to the U.S. and continue operating.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Wait a minute, that just blew my mind. Like, what if you send him a fake Grail?
Here you go, Mr.
Because
Hitler.
you're right, there's no witnesses. What, you
Yeah.
got to believe this guy dressed up like a knight from the Crusade?
He's old.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Wow. Huh.
So as plans go, it's somewhat reasonable. He had the gun. He could have, at the moment, if he had attained it, shot Indy. Indy's usefulness is over. Let Henry die, kill Sala and Marcus. Well, Marcus probably would have run into a wall and killed himself.
Yeah. It's true. We can laugh,
and he could have
even
sent
though it's
anything
true.
back
Yeah, that's a
because
good
he
point.
was very explicit in saying that it wasn't about the agenda for the Nazis for him. He could care less about what they were hunting after and their concerns.
So maybe his plan was masterful all along. We just misread it.
Well, he chose poorly. So
Well, he chose poorly, but that doesn't mean that the plan was to choose poorly.
up to that point,
Yeah.
his plan worked.
Yeah. I like
And
that.
he gave Indy an out way early, not to trust anybody.
Yeah.
So-
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, speaking of not trusting anybody,
Oh, hey.
Wait a minute. That's me.
hey, this just in from Professor Christy Porter.
Oh.
Are you booping, Ken?
There you go. Oh, see, it's fun. It's fun to boop.
What is Elsa hoping for here? And
She looks
If there were-
terrified when
yeah, if there were 4th and 5th century pagan symbols and booby traps, would she be going through it?
Well, I don't think she's given the chance to go through it.
Yeah.
Well, but she's kind of not the expert in this field. She's 4th and 5th century pagan symbols.
Yeah.
That's true. He
No,
brought
but
the
what
wrong
honestly, what is she hoping for here? Is she hoping that Indy brings the Grail back and heals Henry, her lover?
No, because we're going to find in the next minute that they're following Indy. Like, I think their goal is just
Yeah.
they're sending him out like he's on point, and they're going to send him in front. And if something bad, like if he hits something bad,
I mean, but right here, does she want Donovan to procure it?
no.
Does she want Henry to live?
She might want Henry to live, but I think she wants to procure it for herself.
Okay. Like I said, one of the crazy things about this movie is there's like 8 or 10 people who are staking claims to this Grail.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was God's plan all along. Get us all to beat each other up.
Drama.
Yeah, that's why. That's why
Yeah,
there's
drama.
12 apostles. Let them fight it out.
Battle Royale.
Last apostle standing. No.
Cage match.
Yeah, cage match in the upper room. We've locked the room upstairs and brought in the Holy Ghost.
First one down pays for
Everybody-
dinner.
Yeah, all the insults are in different languages.
Oh, was it a roast battle?
Oh,
Well, it starts that way.
yeah. Most battles
like
do.
all great cage matches.
The entrance hymn. Well, Elsa's. What's weird is that she doesn't drink from the Grail. She has the opportunity.
No, that's true.
She could have dipped it in and went, "Yep, some for me too. Now I'm immortal."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird that isn't a, or hey, let me take a sip. All around, she knows at the point that she gets or lifts the Grail up. Well, I don't want to get too far ahead on something I'm not going to be talking about. But she has the opportunity to have the Grail. She knows how it works. She knows you have to dip it in the water and drink from the water. She doesn't go back down, the booby trap path to the knight who's still hanging out going, I thought I was retiring and I guess I'm still at work.
Yeah. Where are you guys going?
Well, maybe
Jerks.
she's smart enough to realize that eternal life would actually kind of suck, and she just wants the artifact. Like she just wants the
Oh, that could be.
she just wants the treasure.
But
And then she's kind of that, like, she knows what Hitler hasn't figured out yet, which is, you can't take it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, she'll figure that out soon enough.
Well, or maybe she's cool with ephemerality.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's a discovery you can publicize. It's not like she's going to get acclaim for this thing.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Is it just going to go into a museum? Then she just, should just partner up with Indy. Is that her thing? That she just wants to, does she have, going back to the beginning of this film with it, it belongs in a museum with the Cross of Coronado. Is that her whole is that this her twisted version of that ethos of taking this object and getting it to a museum, which would require removing it, which was her mistake.
Well, see, I'm not sure she's thought that far ahead. I think for her, the main goal is like it was for Indy in the last two movies, is just to acquire. Like
So
she
it's just a
wants
hunt.
it. Yeah, it's just a hunt.
It's a puzzle to be solved.
Yeah, and what she does with it, I don't know, but I think it's the fact that she would acquire it, which is what has driven Indy in two movies. But I think that's what makes this movie kind of the capstone, as we suddenly that changes for Indy, but now she kind of represents the old Indy.
So it's not all things belong in a museum.
Right.
Yeah, we've kind of struggled with this on all the movies. What do they do with the actual artifact once it's procured?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to house the Ark of the Covenant? I mean, that's why, in a way, the ending of Raiders is so amazing. You're like, yeah, that's where you'd house that. That makes sense.
Yeah, the only place you could.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
It's not like touring King Tut's sarcophagus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Ken, thanks for joining us today. This was a good minute.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Would you like to tell anybody like some of the projects you work on? And you've got a couple of podcasts and maybe other places people could find you.
I do. My main podcast is called A Bit of a Chat, which is me having long chats with people like Mel Brooks and John Hodgman and John Cleese and hundreds of others. And basically, you can access everything from me at kenplume.com. I also have a book coming out. I co-wrote The Art of the Venture Brothers, Go Team Venture, which is coming out.
Oh, nice.
The big art making of massive thing for fans of that.
Oh, cool.
That's great,
Excellent.
man.
Yeah, excellent. And we don't have a book coming out, but we have a we have a
Sorry to
Patreon.
book shame you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, great. Nice walking into that. What is that, a J, Pete? Just stepped on a J?
yeah. We didn't kneel.
Back to that petulant man.
I have a book. You can go to iamtomtaylor.com.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's
Tom
right.
Taylor has a book, so everybody
Look at my book.
go to iamtomtaylor.com, and you can be Tom Taylor, and you can read Tom Taylor's excellent book, In
Yeah,
Memory of
he
Tom
wrote a great
Woods.
book.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Well, and also, in that book, one of the main characters is Peter.
That's
Pete.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or a guy named Pete.
yeah. Thanks,
Might as
Tom.
well be Pete.
Thanks for making that clear. Appreciate that. And listeners, we'd appreciate it if you come back here tomorrow for minute 107 of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
We can say it again. Yeah, we'll say it again, Pete.
I'm true.
I don't want to hear it.
I hate my son.